Well, it was 1979, the last and the best of the 70s. It was fall. It was a Saturday morning, and we were about to play Ledgemont. It was a little football field at their school, not much better than this little practice field in this little city that I'm standing in right now. Their football field was terrible. It was ridiculous. And they cheated up one side and down the other. And I'm about to tell you the story. A real story from the best of my memory, from my high school experience, that hopefully will help us to experience a time with God, to hear from Him. Well, it was Perry High School. That's where I went to school. Again, it was 1979. We were at the point of 8 wins and no losses. 2 games left to go, and we would win the championship of the GRC. I was ready to go, and we were ready. We hadn't gotten cocky. We had a great team. We were a small double-A team, and we had beat a team in Cleveland, a big Cleveland team. We had also beat our arch enemies, the mighty Madison High School. We hadn't beat them in years, but this was the second year in a row that we'd beat them. Perry had taken a different route, and it has been on that route for 40 years ever since. And we beat them and brought home the little brown drug. We didn't even know if it still existed. We were beating everyone. And now it was time to play Ledgemont. Well, we had to play on a Saturday because they were a tiny little school that didn't have anything. So their football games were on a Saturday morning. And I got all my stuff ready. I had something to eat before I go, about, lunchtime. It was a steak. You should have seen what I could do with a couple of steaks. My mother always gave me steak the night of my football game. She felt I needed it. Now, you might think that I was a little bit spoiled, but I think being 9 wins, no losses is not being spoiled. I deserved it. So I had my steak, and we got in the van, and we went out to a long ways, about an hour ways away. And when we got there, we walked onto the field and we looked about. There was one half of the field was completely mudded from one side to the other. The other half of the field was completely dry. Unbelievable. Couldn't quite figure out why it was that way, but we were about to find out. On the side of the field was waterways that they had poured water all over the field from the fire department, and it was still sitting there. You thought they could have put it away, but they didn't. Well, the game began. And we got we had the ball. We got on the field. The ref put the ball right on the side of the road that was all wet. As a matter of fact, the ref put the ball on the wet side of the field every time we had the ball the entire game long. And I guess you don't have to guess very hard to understand or to think, yes, when Ledgemont got the ball, they put it on the dry side every time throughout the game. Why would they do that? I think it's because Ledgemont knew they were against a team that could beat them. We were beating everyone. Actually, Ledgemont had a great year too. That year, they were also 0 and 4 and 8, and someone had to beat them. No, they had lost one game. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. They had lost one game. We hadn't lost one, and the team we were playing the week after this had also not lost a game. So there was a possibility of either a 2 or 3-way tie for the championship. And it all depended about what Perry High School did that night and the next week. Well, as you can guess, as the game went on, it became more and more difficult to play. And they were winning the game by just a little bit. We were having a hard time scoring at all because, again, we were on the wet side of the field. They were on the dry side of the field. They were winning because they were getting more football touchdowns than we were getting. And yet we had a great defense and a great offense. But offense wins the game. And our offense could do little or nothing. Finally, it was the end of the game. There was 2 seconds left on the 2 seconds left in the game. 2 seconds left. We were right easy away from a field goal onto the field. Our field goal kicker was tremendous. He never missed. And we were sure we were going to lose or win the game. So we put the ball down. We got into our huddle. We had our thing. There was only 3 seconds left on the time. We got onto that. We started to hit the ball, run the play, and they called the game over, and everyone from the stands came running out onto the field and ended the game before it was over, before we could kick the ball, before we could win the game. These folks cheated from one end to the other. And all through the game, we became more frustrated and more frustrated and more frustrated. Our coach kept telling us, Coach Ritley kept telling us, calm down, it's going to be okay, you can do this. But we kept getting more. We never had anything like this before. And finally, at the end of the game, they cheated and we lost because of their cheating. Or maybe we lost not only because of their cheating, but because we stopped playing our game and we lost. Now, we were 8 wins and 1 loss and had 1 game to go. Grand River. That's the name of the town that we were playing the next week. Grand River. They were a good football team. A very good football team. They had no losses. Just like we had only had 1 because of that game with Ledgemont. They had beat Ledgemont, and Ledgemont beat us by their thieverous ways. So all week long we prepared to get ready for the game. And prepared we were. We walked out on that field. We got our offense going. We got our defense going. We didn't know how they were going to be. They had not lost a game all year, just like we had not until the week before. Now it was a Friday night. We played under the lights. And we kicked them up one side and down the other, and we beat the game 19-0. Just think what it would have been had we won the week before. We would have been the champions of the Grand River Conference. But instead, we had to suffer through being champs. The only way for us to lose the game was for them to cheat and for us to not play our game. It's the only way. And that's the way it ended up. And in life, in the Christian life, it's the same. The only way we can lose the Christian life is through the cheating, sinful, horrible way that the devil works against us, and by us losing our place and giving up and letting their defense, because that's all that Satan has, is a defense. He doesn't have an offense. We have a great offense. He has a defense. And the only way his defense ever wins is when it gets us so far down that we give up and stop trying. That's Satan's game. That's Satan's plan. But what Jesus said, the truth is this, that the gates of hell cannot go against the church. Only when the church gives up is when the church loses. One of the amazing things to me is that God knows the score. I mean, he just knows the score. He knows that we are going against a foe who does nothing but cheat and steal and kill every chance he gets. And God knows it. And God also knows who we are. God knows who Christians are, knows who all of us are. But he knows that in our heart, that's not what we want. That's not what we're going for. That's not who we are. We are winners with Christ because Jesus never loses. Never. But we have an enemy that does nothing but lie at us constantly and bring people to think, I can't win. There's mud all over the field, and I can't beat these people. I can't beat the devil. And he'll convince us. He tries to convince us of those kinds of things. And God knows that's what's going on. And it's so easy for us to not hold on to the truth. And you know what the Bible says? The Bible says no condemnation. There is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. That means God isn't going to beat us up for the mistakes that we make, because he knows in his heart what our heart is. And he knows that we are against somebody who is powerful. And that was a powerful football team that we played when they had the dry ground and we had wet, muddy ground to play on. And that's how Satan plays his game. And never forget that. And never let go to it. God knows the score. He knows the ends of the game. I got back in the car. I couldn't take it anymore, being on that football field. I couldn't take it anymore thinking about Ledgemont. I mean, seriously, I'm getting therapy over it. and I'll be okay at the end. I want to stop and thank my friend Lynn, who helped me remember some of this because, I have the brain damage and she doesn't. She remembers everything. She's an amazing friend of mine from high school that we're still friends with after all these years. and and I think she needs more therapy on this than I do. And if you're listening, Lynn, you know I love you. You're a great gal. It's a great story, isn't it? It's amazing what can happen to us. It's amazing how Satan does everything to destroy the family of God. And yet God is bigger, higher, and greater than anything that Satan can be. Our offense is amazing. I mean, it is. It's absolutely amazing, the offense that God has given us. The offense that can cause us to look deep inside of ourselves and put to death those things, end them in our life, end those things that can take us away from growing more to be like Jesus and being loving and kind, full of kindness and gentleness. It's a couple of Bible verses I want to end with. And one of them is this. It says, "He has showed you, O man, what is true. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly." We're not playing a football game against another team. We're playing against an enemy that wants to destroy you by causing you to be everything opposite of the verses I just gave you. Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly. It takes an offense to work through all the struggles of life to bring us to be a man like the verse I just mentioned. Here's another important verse. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and all your strength. And love your neighbor as yourself. It's kind of similar to the one I just used, isn't it? Those were words of Jesus. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. That takes an offense. Because Satan is constantly trying to tell you that God doesn't love you. He's not interested in you, that you're a piece of nothing, that you can't win the game. He is constantly trying to get us to be angry and bitter and frustrated and to give up and say, I can't make it to heaven. When Jesus said the truth about this. We have to listen to the truth of what Jesus taught. It's so easy with our neighbors and our friends and even our family. You ever get frustrated with your family? I get frustrated with my family. You ever frustrated with a wife or a husband? I've got frustrated with a wife. Of course, my wife has never been frustrated with me. She would never any reason to be. But you know what? It takes an offense to sit down and say, that's not the kind of person I'm going to be. I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to destroy my marriage, my friendships, my job, my country, the church that I go to, the community I live in, and on and on and on and on we can go. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to love people. That takes an offense because there's everything in a defense trying to pull you against from that and trying to tell you you can't win. and to throw your head and your brain and your body into a, a thing of muddy water that he's thrown there to try to push you out of the way and cause you to lose heart and to lose all that God has made you to be and all that you can be in him. I preach this way because those are things that Christians today have lost. We've somehow come to believe that we are far less than what we are, or that we can't become what we were created to be, but yet we can in Jesus. That was a football game, and we ended up tri-champions. Satan can never be a champion of anything, but you and me and all the people that I know and love that love Jesus, we're champions together. Hey, thanks for joining me today on the football field. And if you're enjoying this and think it will help someone else, please give this to someone else to listen. And one more thing, you're going to win. You've got it in you. Just like Barry would have hit that field goal had he been given a chance. You and I, we've been given that chance. Kick the ball. Kick the ball.